Hey guys, welcome back. I am Rob. We are on Sticks at the Shore, and today I am excited to welcome such a special guest to the lounge, Dan Lance, the former of Domain, the founder of Domain Cigars, a good friend of mine. Thank you for coming on the show. Dan's been building a brand that's kind of quickly been gaining respect throughout the industry. He's got some awesome blends, some really nice branding. I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, you're gonna see it today. And he's got a nice, fresh take on tradition. So, Dan, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to chat with you again here, Rob. Always look
Yeah,
forward.
I know we had some issues with the first recording, so
No
this is
worries.
take number two, and we are gonna talk to my people and tell everybody about Domain.
Perfect.
So, so Dan, let's start at the beginning. What led you into the cigar world?
Well, that's a long story already. So, well, I mean, to summarize, it was a celebration thing. My niece nephew were born. Get a cigar, like everybody does. My first cigar was
Hmm.
a cigar made by Emmanuel Casada, which was the
Okay.
Fonseca vintage 2001 Tubo. And I remember smoking that first cigar, and I thought to myself, how could I make my life where I could do this every day? Right in that
Hmm.
first cigar. And from there it became a weekly, monthly type of thing. And after I found the community of cigars, I was all in. And from there, I started working retail. I actually worked for a company called Outlaw Cigar Company in
Okay.
Kansas, very notorious, very well regarded cigar shop. We were very successful with that cigar shop. I helped them open their South store right as it was getting started. And from there, I just always had some type of retail position. I really loved the business of cigars, but what I really wanted to learn at some point in life
Yeah.
was the industry of cigars.
Okay.
And the industry of cigars is manufacturing, and it's a very
Hmm.
different world down here. So I'm sitting here in our factory. I moved down to Nicaragua 6 years ago without the ambition of starting a factory. I was just the cigar junkie that moved to the poppy field, so to speak.
Of course.
It made no sense. I became really good friends with Esteban Disla and his whole family, and they would invite me out to things. I really found a community here in Esteli from great events that cigar shops would have where they would bring out the
Hmm.
immigrants. So I turned up and knew half the town, and so it was kind
Yeah.
of a unique thing that happened. And it was about 5 years ago whenever Esteban started growing tobacco with Raul Disla, his brother, who also works with us. And
Hmm.
from there, eventually he sold his share in his factory to the brand that he was making, and went on to it was actually it's kind of funny. That day, I was just driving up to Esteli because I had moved to Managua. It was in the middle of COVID. You couldn't do anything in
Yeah.
this. I mean, there was, you could basically go to the
Hmm.
grocery store and go home. That was all you could do. So I had moved to Managua. My girlfriend was there, and I was driving up to Esteli, and I called him. I was like, "Hey, let's have a cigar and meet up." And he goes, "I'd love to have a cigar with you, but we just sold our share of the factory." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" you know. So I didn't know anything about it, and at that point, we met up. I had to kind of get up to speed. What do you want to do? I asked him just right there. You want to make a cigar? Like you want your friend to feel
Hmm.
full and valid in their skills, and he's an incredibly skilled craftsman when it comes to cigar
Yeah.
making. And Esteban had this vision. We want to be vertically integrated. We want to grow our own tobacco, have our own factory, have our own brand. And that spurred this choice to see it all the way through to build a
Yeah.
company that built in 30 plus years in our business, our industry.
Yeah. Now, do you find your retail experience helps you run Domain today? Like, do you find a lot of what you did in that retail world kind of translates over?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the retailer is at the heart of what we do. We don't sell direct to consumer. There are some that do, and they make that work, but we don't. We are 100% channel focused on the retailer. So a lot of those retailers that I, worked for and with back in my time in the United States, which I'm still an American, proud to be an American, but I spend more of my time in Nicaragua today.
Hmm.
A lot of them are still voices inside of this company, actually. So I call them up for advice and, seek out their opinion on different changes that we're doing and how that
Nice.
the retail practice. Yeah.
So what's now? So you started Domain. What's the story behind the name Domain? Where did that come from, and what does it represent to you?
So Domain has always been a creative workshop for me.
Okay.
So Domain actually started as a coffee company. So we had a cafe. We had more than 300 locations where you could buy our coffee across the Midwest.
Hmm.
We ready to drink cold brew, and we did beans in a bag, and we did all that kind of stuff. And I love coffee. It's two things that I spend the most money on because my accountant tells me every year you spend way too much money on coffee, spend way too much money on cigars. But
Yeah.
that's what I love. So I'm fueled on that. And originally it was a coffee company, and actually 2019, whenever I moved out here, I still had the coffee company, and I had gotten a house out here. My professional career was in cybersecurity, but all my hobbies and my interests, whenever I get into something, I go a little overboard, and and domain
Sound
is
like me.
yeah, right. Like exactly. In this type of industry, in this business, it's one of those things that you can get really excited about. And you spend many years trying to find your place and like what works for
Yeah.
you, what you want to do.
Hmm.
I didn't envision ever owning a brand or starting a factory or growing
Hmm.
tobacco or any of that type of stuff. I really
Hmm.
did. But domain has always been that creative, workshop. So domain
Yeah.
is a sphere activity where you have, greatness or excellence in it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of I think it's etymology of the word, right? But how do you actually practice that? So this is where I want to put all of my great creative ideas. This is where I want to put
Hmm.
the most of myself on display and, have it critiqued, I guess.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
it's funny that you say creativity. One of my favorite things to do is I love watching you work on Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff because I when I like really go into things, I like to really dive into things head first. And watching you nerd out over all these like little micro things about like the cigar industry, like I love watching you when you're walking around your fields and you're talking about the leaves and you're talking about the drying process and you're talking about like I think it was so interesting and it was such like it was such like a stupid topic for me. Like I told my wife and she's like, "Why are you nerding out about this?" When you were talking about the pills that you use to like fumigate the storehouse where you were talking about the and I was like, this is so interesting. And like listening to you do these like little nerdy videos is absolute gold for me. I love listening to this stuff. I mean, it really is a neat thing to watch somebody else nerd out over cigars like I do and just explaining step by step process, showing us the palones and showing us all that kind of stuff. So I really thank you for that because that's like I said, it's really like kind of like just an interesting part of my day when you put these videos out. I watch them all the time. I just want to say, they don't go unwatched. So
Okay, I appreciate that. That's very good. That's very kind.
yeah.
You can follow me, Daniel C. Lance, on Instagram. That's my personal account. That's where I share a lot of the nerdy stuff. We did a little bit of that on Domain Cigars,
Hmm.
on Instagram and Facebook and so on. But yeah, really, that's what's fascinating about this, and that's what's fascinating about the industry and the business of cigars. You can work at this your entire life and never learn everything there is to learn.
Yeah.
And it's kind of exceptional and rare that a new company is doing these things. My business partner Esteban, he's been doing this 40 plus years now. So he has a great amount of experience. So, a lot of questions that I have, I can go to him and I can ask. And sometimes even he'll go, well, we need to go ask this tobacco broker about how they do this, this, and this.
Hmm.
And that's even more fascinating when we find something that we both don't know about and we have to go
Yeah.
find, you know. So those are the things that I really like to share.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Now, starting a cigar brand can't be easy. What were some of your biggest challenges when you that you faced early on when you were starting Domain as a cigar company?
Well, I mean, there's the obvious challenge of if you're if you're the type of person to invest very much and you have some money set aside and you want to start a business or something like that, your money is pretty well better served in almost any other enterprise. So you really have to be at a stage in your career in your life where this is the thing that you can do and it can be
Mm,
illogical and you can make a lot of more money than brains decisions. So uh, the single hardest thing I think to gain an understanding of is a lot of the laws and regulations that we have to.
mhm.
We have, and I never understood this. There's always new entries into cigars and new hopefuls, and the word dreamer gets kind of overused, I think, a lot in cigars.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of that, and you know, with those people confronting the fact that you're walking into a market today that has more laws and more regulations. I mean, we have drones of legal assistance and
Mhm.
so on that we have to call on fairly regularly, much more than if you were to start maybe a bakery, maybe something
Of
that
course.
a flower shop.
Yeah.
Those are the type of businesses that you can retire into. And unfortunately, a lot of times, because we actually make a lot of cigars for other people, a lot of
Mhm.
times, we're confronted by, a maker that has a passion project or something that they want to get after. And um, sometimes it doesn't make sense because, they're not wanting to put their life savings into it,
Yeah.
work 60 hours a week, 80 hours a week,
Yeah.
and approach it with that type of stamina. So it used to be the kind of business that, not only is it more money than brains today, as it has been for a long time, it's also the kind of
Mhm.
where you can't retire into it, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
is it
No.
is very much a full-time job. And like, even on the retail side, I have the utmost respect for retailers that do it and do it well, because on the retail side of tobacco, on cigars, it used to be that type of business that you could comfortably retire into. And
Yeah.
it's getting to the point where now you have to be an expert in so many different areas, domains,
Mhm.
uh, that you have to be an expert in so many different things that you can't comfortably settle into this anymore.
Mhm. Now it's funny that you were talking about how kind of you work on projects for other people. I actually just got interested in a brand. We're talking now for a brand that you just made cigars for. I saw on their Instagram and reached out, and you'll see them on my podcast as well. So you
Okay.
know the guys from Cayman.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Cayman
Yeah.
Cigar.
So
Great, great mission that they have over there too.
yeah, so I saw them, and it's funny because I literally saw them picking up the boxes. I guess they had posted a video where they were picking up the boxes from Tabacalera Familia Disla, and I was like, all right, well, I know that name, and it was Cayman Cigar Company, and I reached out and I said, I love Domain Cigars, and super interested in trying your stuff, and they sent me a really nice welcome pack, and so we're gonna have them on the show as well. So that's in the future. But yeah, no, it's funny how you were talking about how you were working with other people.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, they're a great customer. And the thing is, we're really selective on who we work with. There's been a scenario for a long time. You know, you have to kind of have a lay of what the industry and the business of cigars are. The industry is manufacturing, the business of cigars is what we do in North America. And I say that with the utmost
Mhm.
question of that. Tobacco is hard. It's really hard.
Mhm.
Marketing and branding and all that is really hard. And a lot of the things that you do every day, including media, is difficult. We were just talking about all the technical problems of, in this modern world of doing these
Yeah.
things. And you
Mhm.
have to, right? You have to be good at these things.
Mhm.
So whenever it comes to the actual business of cigars, you got about 5,000 higher level brands, right? Which sounds
Mhm.
like a lot, and it is. But out of that 5,000 or so, sometimes it's up or down. but it's about 5,000 or so different, names, and about 55% of the entire cigar market is coming from Nicaragua today. So
Yeah.
that's how, 430, 450 million cigars going to the United States. And of that, you've got about 90% of those brands are going to make less than 5,000 cigars per year.
Hmm.
And that's a really small number of cigars. Sometimes they'll make 10,000 and they won't order cigars for 2 years. So with our
Yeah.
factory, we're really selective on who we work with, because we want them all to be successful, and we want them to make sure that they're building a team with purpose,
Yeah.
and that they're really going to approach the market with the type of energy and care and respect
Yeah.
that it demands today.
Yeah.
Uh, so from there, the rest of the breakdown of the business of cigars is 8% is brands like us, where we're well above 5,000 cigars
Hmm.
per year, but under a million. You know, and the ones that are a million plus, you've been to the trade show, of course. We've met up there, and
Hmm.
when you go to the trade show, 90% of the trade show floor is about 100 companies,
Oh
and
yeah. Yep.
that's about 2% of the entire business.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
all of them will be a million plus cigars, sometimes even 20 and 50 million cigars.
Yeah.
So there's a really small market for a new
Hmm.
entry. So I really commend anyone that wants to get into this today, because it is really difficult. I have, a fantastic business partner in Esteban Disla, an amazing amount of success and experience in his corner. But we also have other master blenders that we work with, Kevin Baxter.
Yeah.
We have Raul Disla, of course. We have a great solid team to call upon, and there's just very few of them out there to work with.
Yeah.
That's a big part of why I never thought I'd be here sitting talking with you about a
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah. Now it's funny that you were talking about your blenders and your master blenders and all that stuff, because it kind of segues right into my next question is talk to us about your blending process. How hands-on are you? What do you look for like when creating new cigars?
Sure, that's a great question. It's kind of a technical question too, in some ways, but with creating a new cigar, you sometimes the cigar comes to you.
Hmm.
Oftentimes, what we do is we have a project-based approach, and I feel like this does make what we do quite a bit different. I live here, of course, but I am also, the brand for the United States.
Yeah.
Esteban is the president. We each have ideas of cigars that we want to come out with, and it's not
Hmm.
just a wrapper or something like that. But it has to fit a place. The next 10 years of Domain Cigars is actually already written out. We're telling a story through every single release.
Yeah.
And so our releases aren't dependent on the portfolio needs this, which I
Hmm.
know like we should have a Connecticut now. We don't, right? We should have a Sumatra, because Sumatra was really popular 2 years ago. We don't. Um,
Hmm.
so things like that aren't really concerns, but we both have a passion for working with broadleaf.
Yeah.
We both have a passion for that cigar, and so when we built Entropy, we launched that as a project, and it's not easy
Yeah.
for a new factory to get access to that tobacco. There's a lot of
Mm-mm.
there's a lot of issues with getting access to some tobaccos, and
Yeah.
so when you approach it that way, the blending process is kind of at a program level today, as to how we
Yeah.
approach assembling the blend. We do something called ratio blending, which Esteban was the apprentice of the guy who originally kind of come up with that concept.
Hmm.
Ratio blending is where you're taking percentages of leaf and putting them together, as opposed to assembling components of the cigar.
Hmm.
And then you can kind of get into blend to size versus blend to ratio. And
Hmm.
that allows you to have a wider breadth of sizes that all
Yeah.
have a characterizing flavor in the way that the blend comes across. Uh,
Yeah.
also has different changes and differences as you smoke through it. So blender ratio is what we utilize in the factory. And then all of our cigars are oftentimes years long project.
Hmm.
Right now, we're working on a cigar. It does happen to be Connecticut.
Let's go.
we, we are we are working on that. The as far as the marketing and the bands and everything like that,
Hmm.
actually they've actually been done for about 2 years. Um,
Nice.
so that's how far out we do a lot of
Yeah.
that. And right now, we're working on a series that is an extension that is basically Esteban only. Domain is a creative workshop for the two of us, but we're working on a series that is going to be Esteban only as well.
Nice.
And there's something unique about how that, without leaving
Yeah.
too much, leading the horse to water, I guess. But there's something unique that we're doing with every single one of those cigars to put it into its own perspective. Yeah.
Now, before we move on and talk about something else, when you're in your blending process, do you blend to size, or do you blend? Do you like blending to a certain size when you're coming up with your blends, or do you just stick with your ratios and kind of fit your ratio into a size?
Yeah, so our blend ratio, our prime size is always going to be Robusto Extra.
Okay.
So what we do is, as we're going out, Domain's feature cigars are 9 sizes.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we start with Robusto Extra. From there, we move up and we move down. As we're making the samples for that blend, if it doesn't work in one of those sizes, we go back and we remaster the original ratio.
Okay.
That might sound counterintuitive, but we're not doing a single cigar or a single series. So we have to have a phenomenal cigar that works
Hmm.
across those sizes.
Yeah.
Uh, and if it doesn't, then the blend integrity we start to question. Can we reliably get tobacco into that blend year over year?
Yeah.
Do we have enough assets in our own brokerage without going out to third parties to be able to maintain that
Hmm.
blend? We grow the vast majority of our filler tobaccos. We do not have our own wrapper operation today.
Hmm.
The filler tobacco, though, is where you always get in trouble. So the money is really on the brokerage side of tobacco. The money is really in wrapper, right? That's
Yeah.
the crown jewel of the cigar. Now,
Yep. Yep.
the filler tobacco, though, if you've got a 5-6 tobacco blend and you don't have filler for it, well, you don't have a cigar.
Of
So,
course. Yeah.
and you can have a blend that is not particularly well liked. I mean, we always want to come up with blends that are extremely well liked.
Hmm.
uh, if you have a blend that isn't particularly good, well, you still have a cigar if you have all the filler tobacco,
Yeah.
right? So whenever you start looking at what makes a cigar factory, there's an essential component of being able to handle and access your own raw materials that we think is fundamental in actually being a cigar maker. And that's not to say that there aren't great factories that don't have their own crops, that don't run their own brokerages. We're not alluding to that. We're saying that it is incumbent in your ability to make cigars for other people to know that you have
Hmm.
an ongoing, consistent supply of high quality material to put in those cigars.
Hmm.
And blender ratio all the way down helps you master that, helps you
Yeah.
have confidence that you're going to be able to produce quality year over year over year. And that's
Yeah.
what Esteban idolized. All of the great cigar makers were always vertically integrated. You
I
have
think right now, isn't there only like 8 or 9 factories currently that are totally fully integrated, vertically integrated?
I would say that it's probably closer to 30-ish.
30. Okay.
It might be closer to that. I can speak more for Nicaragua.
Hmm.
The Dominican Republic is a bit different when it comes to that. There are a
Hmm.
lot of leases uh,
Yeah.
on land where people don't actually own it, but maybe they lease it and then they have a contract farmer and then they maybe contract out even the fermenting of the tobacco. The fermenting is such a underappreciated part of what we do.
Hmm.
The second wave of cigar making, which I affectionately call direction commission, and that's what a lot of
Yeah.
people come to us to work on. But there's been a kind of an overappraisal, I would say, at some time of blending. Now, you can blend a bad cigar and you still have a cigar, as we've talked about before.
Yeah.
You can blend a great cigar and have a great cigar. Now, when it comes to blending and how that plays in, uh, you need consistent fermentation. My
Hmm.
Condega Viso will not taste like the Condega Viso of the guy down the street who's also vertically integrated.
Yeah.
So even taking blend instructions from one factory to another factory does not yield you a perfect cigar, even if it were perfect at that other factory.
Yeah.
And we also do something different in Esteli that I'm not sure I've really come upon in any other growing region. Esteli tobacco oftentimes is going to be about a month under finish. It's
Mm.
very common. A lot of times, whenever it's belled, it's belled uh, generally, 85%, right? 85% a month under. So it will need to be, put back into something called a boro cologne, right? Which means double
Hmm.
cologne. It's,
Yeah. Yep. I remember that video. You talked about that video too. Yep.
yeah. I talked about that in the
Yeah.
video.
Hmm.
And so whenever that happens, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the tobacco in order, soften it, make it workable.
Yeah.
But also factories anticipate that a lot of times the tobacco needs that. So oftentimes out of our own brokerage, when
Hmm.
we're preparing tobacco, we prepare it for a finish that we expect in our own factory.
Yeah.
Uh, and so there's a lot of customization that fermentation can yield. That I think is the shining star for a long time has been blend,
Hmm.
but it's fermentation, it's blending against that fermentation. When you buy tobacco from a third party, we sell tobacco based on weight, and there's
Yeah.
relatively standard weight per pound, price per pound that you expect to pay for certain regions. And
Yeah.
so it doesn't benefit a third party to produce a higher quality product or to produce a product, with your fermentation instructions when they can sell it to the guy down the street for the same
Yeah.
price.
Yeah.
So
Of course.
so that's why when people come to work with us, like Cayman Cigar or any of our other customers, we make cigars for about 4 different brands right now. And when they come to work with us, they know that they're working kind of inside of our ecosystem. And
Hmm.
oftentimes, if they bring a cigar to us, we might have to reimagine that blend, hit something close, or sometimes we just daydream and we go off into kind of our own, TBFD or Tobacco Area Family of Disla.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that's where the best character of the cigar comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, speaking to the design of the cigars, changing gears a little bit, um, Domain Cigars has like a distinct vibe. Like when you look at the cigars and they're sitting on a shelf, both visually and in terms of smoking experience. Like I don't know, like if anybody hasn't seen like Domain before, so if you look at their bands, I mean, these things are the coolest bands, and I know you work on it a lot because I see you messing with boxing tape. Like today, like I saw you messing with boxing tape. Like, do you like our our box tape? And like, but you were like printing out the new bands for the new cigars, but it's very intricate. Like you could see like all the different shapes and everything. So,
Sure.
how intentional was the branding for Domain Cigars, and who are you speaking to when you're making this branding?
So I do all the industrial design. If you haven't checked out our boxes, please go check out our boxes, domaincigars.com. We have great photos and everything of our boxes on there. And
Yeah.
you know, I do all the industrial design. I love playing around with designs, and we actually have a patent on our box because we included so many new features that just haven't
Hmm.
been in a slide top box before. So I really like doing that. But the thing is, I'm like 1 inch off the sheet of paper, so I'm like so close to the illustration, the artwork, and everything, the concept that what we did when we launched Domain Cigars was I actually hired 30 plus designers, and very expensive. And I had them all work together, and they started producing garbage, and then I split them all up. And had them submit designs to me one on one, and then every day I would do YouTube style videos where I would teach them cigar merchandising, and
Hmm.
these videos, would help guide them. And ultimately, we wound up finding about 3 people that I could collaborate with really well on the illustration. So
Yeah.
when we write a design brief, when we're working with a design team, oftentimes the brief is extraordinarily detailed. In this case, our first release here, which the series, we don't focus very much on this, but we call it the Constellation. And
Yep.
the logo for my coffee company for Domain, the original Domain, was actually a colibris, and there was a star in the eye of
Hmm.
the three-headed animal, and it has some biblical references as well. But there was a star in the eye because we each came from a different industry to build that company. So whenever we made Domain Cigars, we reutilized that and did kind of the double shock diamond
Hmm.
star, and then the backdrop of the band is basically the galaxy or the constellation, and we're focusing on Domain, the kind of shining star type of thing. So the briefs are really detailed that we lay out, right down to doing some of the iconography of the cigar. So the iconography is, of course, like actually drawing out
Yeah.
some of the icons and so on.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it perfectly fit what we were trying to do for the constellation. But we also called it the Constellation because we got some great advice from a friend, Corey Frisbee. He's also a tobacco grower in the United States.
Yeah.
And he basically said, well, with a cigar company, you do one of two things when you launch. And I go, what's that? And he goes, you either focus on one city and one area and get really deep in that area and then slowly build out, right? Or
Hmm.
you go far and wide out of the gate. And he goes, well, if you go far and wide out of the gate and you run out of cigars, you're in big trouble, right? And if you go really, really focused, right, then there's a chance that you become a niche that doesn't sell anywhere else, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So we wanted to work with all of the stars of the business. So when we launched the company, we went through, found 100 people, 100 shops, retailers that were, had a way of approaching either the business of cigars, had industry experience, would understand how exceptional this is.
Yeah.
Cigar brands don't just build factories and grow tobacco and do it. They just don't do that.
Correct. Yeah.
That was how the first wave of cigar makers in 1962 in February, when they exited Cuba, that has kind of turned this business on its head all those years ago. They had to go start from scratch oftentimes,
Hmm.
and that progression, and then losing all the knowledge from the cigar rollers that in West Tampa and Ybor City, and Wisconsin even had a huge cigar rolling area. But losing all of that to modernization and complex manufacturing arriving in the United States, and industrial revolutions that kind of happened throughout
Hmm.
the 70s, that created a scenario where cigar making really had to start from scratch, and the
Yeah.
business of cigars was not in good shape for a very long time. And we love it, you and I do, and hopefully everyone watching this.
Hmm.
um, but it's very much amazing to me, because even in the 18, 19 some odd years that I've been smoking cigars now, um, the number of cigar shops that there's 3 times as many.
Hmm.
There's so many more people. Every year is bigger than the 90s boom that everyone talks
Yeah.
about. It's so much bigger. But what happened in the 90s was, it's just this is an agricultural product.
Yeah.
So they didn't have, the actual physical material, quality material to work with to make the number of cigars that were in demand. But we're so fortunate that there is such high volume today. What is concerning though is new voices coming in. How many
Hmm.
new do we have that are? I hope other people will do what we did. That will copy our playbook. Like
Yeah.
come down here and find somebody that is really wanting to go all in. But it just doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
In so many ways, I know this is a elongated answer to your question, but in so many ways, the iconography and the approach to domain uh,
Hmm.
has been wide wide spanning as far reach
Yeah.
as with the goal to kind of convey that message of
Yeah.
this is kind of exceptional, and we hope that we're not the last.
No, of
um,
course not.
we hope that there will be many more.
Yeah. Now, switching gears a little bit, let's talk about your cigars themselves. What does your core line look like right now?
Well, that's easy. I don't have a core line. So I have featured cigars, right?
Yeah.
And I know that that sounds like a cop out. It's like, no, that is your core line. But but the thing is, we call it featured cigars. Look, if I can't get a tobacco, I don't swap it out. I'm not and I'm not knocking Toyota here, but the Camry looks nothing like the Camry of yesteryear. Okay,
Of course. Yeah.
if I can't get the component that I'm going to put in, that I'm going to ratio into that blend, then we're not going to make that cigar.
Hmm.
Now that necessitates us making a lot of Domain cigars. We have in our featured cigars 9 different sizes of standard photolas that we put out. In total, we make 3 different blends with 22 different cigars, right?
Hmm.
Which is substantial.
Yeah.
Um, but to do that, that is, by the way, financially insane for you to do
Hmm.
as a new brand. I mean, it is pretty out there. But we own the factory. It's
Of
it's
course.
labels, it's boxes. Sure, that costs a lot. What really costs a lot is maintaining 5,000, 10,000 stock of each SKU,
Yeah.
and maintaining $250,000 in inventory just in the United
Yeah.
States for active orders. Um, so uh, so that's really it's 22 today and 3 blends. Soon that'll be quite a few more.
Yeah.
And I had somebody ask me because we were chatting at the trade show. I had somebody ask me at the trade show. They go, "Well, you don't have a whole lot of new stuff going on." And I'm like, "We released 22 different cigars
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
in a
Which
year."
is crazy because it's to think that you have when you have two blends of your cigar has 9 sizes each, which is you know unfathomable sometimes when people like when you have companies coming out with vitolas, they'll have three, maybe four, maybe five. But when you say, yeah, I have three blends and two of them have 9 vitolas,
Yeah,
that's like, whoa, you know?
yeah, yeah. And so that is, if you want to say, I would say that those are our core sizes.
Yeah.
Those are the sizes that we always try to represent. Now, with Entropy, or Connecticut broadleaf, it's U.S.
Yeah.
grown Connecticut broadleaf, grown by Dunn Foster Farms in the Connecticut River Valley, one of the best growers that you can work with out
Yep.
there, of course. And
Hmm.
with that cigar, we only put it out initially in 4 because we weren't
Hmm.
sure we were going to be able to keep up because Connecticut broadleaf,
Broadleaf is in such in demand right now.
it's in a really high demand,
Yeah.
and I wanted to make sure that we were going to be able to meet retailers' expectations, and it
Yeah.
immediately shot to our number one. I mean, it just
Yeah.
you know which is saying a lot because both negentropy, which is the filler that entropy is based on,
Yeah.
and neutron, which is a Mexican San Andreas medium body Mexican San.
Hmm.
Um, those two in a year sold within 100 boxes across all 9 sizes. A
Wow.
hundred, 100 boxes was the only deviation. So that's pretty phenomenal. As far as sales forecasting, we get it'll be like some area, maybe southeast or something like that. They'll do really
Yeah.
well, kind of all of the new age sizes.
Hmm.
Then more the older world sizing. That might be in some of your more traditional brick and mortars. But it really evens out. It
Yeah.
really does. But I completely understand why brands would not do
Yeah.
it. um, but yeah, that's what we currently look like. So if a tobacco for some reason we can't get it, we're not making it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're not gonna rebirth the same cigar or something like
Hmm.
that. We're it's just gonna be a SKU that isn't available, and
Yeah.
you're gonna get another project when it's ready. Um,
Yeah.
again, there's a lot more passion here than there is
Yeah.
maybe good business decisions as far as making sure you have something to sell. But
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah. Now it's funny that you have three blends. I want to tell you, Neutron, your Mexican San Andreas blend, is by far, and I can say this without a doubt, my favorite MSA wrapped cigar on the market. I mean, it is the market is currently flooded, I would say, flooded with a lot of Mexican San Andreas, and companies every day are coming out with new MSA stuff. And to say that yours is the I want to say yours is the most interesting, the what to me, it's what Mexican San Andreas should be in an MSA wrap cigar. It is medium body where you're not highlighting the spiciness. You get that spiciness naturally from the MSA wrapper, but you get all the nice sweet flavor notes out of the MSA that should be there in an MSA cigar instead of that spiciness and kind of like stinge the inside of your nose, and it's fantastic. I'm telling you, if you have not tried Neutron, you really need to go out and try it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's and you gush all over Neutron all the time how it's a fantastic, and I'm telling you, you're not lying. It's a fantastic Mexican San Andres cigar, um, which is the way it should be. So you have the Neutron, which is your MSA. You have the Entropy, which is your Connecticut broadleaf, and then what is your Negentropy based off of? What is that? Is that a Habano wrapper?
So that's a Habano. It
Yeah.
is also a bit of a unique one. So it is
Yeah.
pink rosado Habano.
Okay.
Um, so that's two things. So it's a rosado finish. So rosado finish is typically going to be around 6 months in
Yeah.
a fermentation, and
Hmm.
then the pink is this kind of red hue that the tobacco gives. It's actually what I'm smoking right now. This
Yeah.
is the factory sample. But that hue a lot of times happens with Ecuador Habano during cold season, whenever the cigar or well, whenever the tobacco
Yeah.
whenever the tobacco is grown earlier, whenever it's much colder,
Hmm.
um, and you're already at pretty high elevation. But when you grow it earlier and it's cooler, you get this unique kind of antibody reaction that happens with the tobacco, and that's what creates this kind of embedded pink-ish hue. Uh,
Hmm.
and then the risotto finish is time temperature water, and
Yeah.
we are using Oliva tobaccos, Habano for that. Great partner of ours. Very good
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Great tobacco family.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, Okay, so somebody walks into a shop and they see Domain for the first time. Um, where do they start? Where would you point them to if you're running your shop and you have Domain on the shelf? Where are you pointing to first?
Well, it depends if I know their palate, of course. Now, I'm always going to recommend Neutron first, right?
Hmm.
As a great introduction to our tobacco and our blending style. Now, Neutron and all of our cigars feature Sacco, Viso, Lajero in every single
Yeah.
one. They're all also double binder
Hmm.
cigars across multiple sizes. That's going to give you the widest breadth of flavor complexity that you can achieve. Uh,
Yeah.
so I would always recommend going there first.
Hmm.
And whenever it comes to negentropy and entropy, that is going to be a matter of are they
Palette.
more Habano? Exactly. Are they more Habano?
Hmm.
Are they more broadleaf fans? These are intense cigars, though. I had
Mm.
I had a shop tell me that they're like, "Can you make anything that's not strong?" They're like, "Oh, they're like even Neutron, that's medium plus." And I go, "Well, really, it's not. It's
It
medium.
really, it's not.
It's medium for a blend that's also composed of Lajero."
Yeah.
But today, there's more and more uh, cigar brands that are not using Lajero
Hmm.
because they're trying to get a lot more flavor and strength out of their Visos.
Yeah.
Um, and so
Now
that's
it's funny that you say that because isn't LFD doing that right now? They're going back and revisiting all their old brands to try to reblend them for a
mm,
um less spicier palette. Like they used to, because I remember LFD used to be really like intense, like way intense cigars. And
sure.
like they're reblending them now. I heard like they just came out with their Suave, which is a reblend of an older cigar that was just way too spicy and now is a medium to medium plus.
Mm. Yeah, I can't really speak to what they're doing, but I would say that a industry wide trend in manufacturing has been stay a couple years ahead of where people's palates are going. Uh,
Hmm.
Even in our factory, probably half the cigars that we produce today do not contain Lajero.
Yeah.
Which, it sounds, crazy. But, if you look at 25, 30 years ago, I was talking to Esteban about this, and he goes, before he left the Dominican Republic, he goes, we weren't using any Lajero. It's like there
Mm.
was rarely if ever used. And
Yeah.
I would say that a lot of people are trying to kind of look at where things are going and come out with products to kind of meet those expectations.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where I should illustrate this for everyone real quick because I haven't. Domain Cigars is a passion project, a brainchild in so many ways. Of course, we're really serious whenever it comes to running business, but we've made the cigar to represent and fit in the hands of cigar smokers that are 5% of the entire cigar audience. And those are the guys that are smoking every single day. So
Hmm.
out of the 95%, 95% of everyone who enjoys cigars that are cigar smokers, they don't smoke a cigar every day. They smoke a couple of
Hmm.
week, they smoke maybe a few a month or something like that, or special occasions type of thing. Those are cigar smokers, but they oftentimes, what do they do when you're at, the lounge? They come up to you, hey, what's good? What's smoking good?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they ask you because you're in there smoking every day and you know
Yeah.
what's on the shelves and what's rocking. So we really made the constellation, we made Domain to meet those expectations.
Yeah.
That's why there's Lajero in every blend. That's why we focus so intently on construction and so on. Um,
Hmm.
but there's a lot of mass market concepts. I think that whenever you get to a certain size, you have to start using. And
Yeah.
And uh, fortunately for us, that's not a problem yet today, I guess. But
Hmm.
in the future, I'm sure it'll be a concern.
Yeah. Now, one more cigar question.
Okay.
Um, now I know I saw a couple of samples just recently, and we had talked about it. That you had touched on it previously. You're looking at possibly a Connecticut shade cigar in the future. Um, Also, I know what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the Corona Entropy coming out, which was kind of like a cool crowdsourced kind of a deal that you guys are coming out with, which I thought was, which I thought that was brilliant. Crowdsourcing, like, hey, do you guys want to see a cool freaking cigar? So
Yeah,
help me create one. And where you were like, what size should I make it? How should I do this? Should I do dry pack? Should I do wet pack? I think that was the coolest thing, that how you were letting your kind of crowdsource
sure.
lead your development for this new Corona Entropy, and I think it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to find it when it comes out. Hopefully, um,
Yeah,
now, what new blends and projects or limited releases are we looking forward to from Domain in the future? Like with this Connecticut shade. I know we were speaking about the Connecticut shade recently. You said, "What do you expect from the Connecticut shade?" And that was the exact question that you asked me. What are you expecting? And my answer was, because I've smoked the entire line, I was like, well, I expect it to start at least at a medium plus. And you're
right.
like, I think it's gonna surprise you. So I was like, all right, I'm all for it.
Yeah, but which direction is it going to surprise you? That'll be the other one.
Of
Um,
course.
so Esteban. Let me tell you something about Esteban. So Esteban loves working with Connecticut, which
Hmm.
it's going to sound funny to people because a lot of his career he's worked on very bold, very strong cigars.
Yeah.
Now, part of this is his wife Flor loves Connecticut cigars, right?
Mm.
So he's always trying to just make a cigar to impress Flor. So there's something called Cahuca tobacco. Cahuca tobacco is amazing. This is a wrapper. It's the highest quality Connecticut wrapper that you're going to get out of Ecuador. Um, there's not a ton of it here in Nicaragua, but it is very very specialized. In fact, there's a handful of companies that bring it in, and I asked Esteban about it, and he goes, there's only one other guy in town. Well, first he says, there's only two guys in town. There's this guy that has it, and then the other guy, me, who
Yeah.
always has this tobacco around. So you'll notice that the wrappers on those are just absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, absolutely. I saw pictures when you had the picture on from with the three samples on the table, and I'm like, wow, that looks like a
Yeah,
fantastic Connecticut cigar.
yeah. It is that is incredible. Now, when it comes to the blend, the thing is with Connecticut's, I gotta smoke it, be able to like it, and I'm not
Hmm.
I'm trying to come out with stuff that our preferences are in everything we make. I know people think, well, I'm a cigar maker. I'm probably sitting around smoking Coronas and Lanceros all day long. Um, I've I've today alone I've smoked two 6x60s, which you'll
Mm.
rarely hear a cigar maker say something like that. Esteban
Hmm.
probably smoked two or three himself. Um, we have our preferences and everything. So when we're working on a Connecticut project, we're not just trying to do a Connecticut that's going to meet again that mass market appeal, but
Yeah.
they're for so long. And I mean I remember this like 10 years ago. Every Connecticut aspired from a new edgy brand, aspired to be this like full body flavor bomb,
Yeah.
and it was always like, you'd smoke it and you'd be like, oh, that was a nice trip, and then it was like,
Mm.
okay, well, we'll go back to smoking whatever, so
Hmm.
but that's what you run the risk of. So do we have a finalized blend for our Connecticut project? No, and it's not even called the Connecticut Pro. We have some other project name. We know what we're calling the cigar. Again, the marketing and all that's already been done. We don't really inject a whole lot of marketing into that part of the whole process. So yeah, what that cigar is going to be like, time will tell.
Hmm.
Is it going to smoke like anything you have a frame of reference for? Probably not massively in any kind of significant way. Certainly not from us. Certainly not from Esteban. I'm really excited about that. You mentioned, I'm glad you brought it up, the entropy Coronas.
Hmm. Really looking forward to those.
That is the MSRP on those cigars is also going to be pretty well unheard of because of look, I mean, we made entropy was so successful for us and still is, you know.
Hmm.
In fact, several sizes have been sold out, and it's my fault actually because you probably saw me post about us burning a bunch of cigar bands.
Hmm. Yep.
We have a lot of cigar bands that didn't meet our criteria. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars worth of material
Yeah.
that had errors and things like that that we just weren't going to be happy with putting on the product.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so that's left us with a couple of those SKUs, and they've been made for months. I mean, cigars were made 8 months ago for
Yep.
decent cigars. We just haven't had a band that suited them, so you gotta wait, unfortunately. So whenever it came to the Coronas, it's like, are we gonna put bands on Coronas? And it's like, no, that doesn't,
Hmm.
let's think about this. So it's a Corona. Um, do you want to pay, $13 for a Corona so I can put a band on it, put a cello,
Hmm.
put a really nice, UPC on it, right?
Yeah.
Um, or do we just say, hey, we're gonna do this for the real ones, and we're
Yeah.
gonna wet pack the cigars, which is a term that I found out a lot of people were not really familiar with, but I mean, there's
Hmm.
iconic cigar companies that have come out with wet packs, and
Hmm.
but doing that also as a cabinet series, which a cabinet series is you put a whole half full of 50 cigars, right?
Yep. In a
Directly,
box. Yeah.
right, in a box. But now do that as a wet pack. So it's a paper metallic foil wrapped,
Foil. Yep.
yeah, in a box. And what would that look like, right? And right now, I don't know that we have enough tobacco to do the number that I wanted to do. Um,
Hmm.
but we were able to, from some of the tobacco from Entropy, get enough that it made sense to make Coronas. And
Hmm.
I think the price point is really going to shock people on that
Yeah.
cigar. I think it's really going to blow them away. And not
Yeah.
only, I mean, it's a ratio blended cigar. All the Seco is in there. All the Viso is in there, right? The double Lejero that we use is in there. All the double binder. It's all the components. Nothing is sacrificed in putting that
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
I'm excited,
Yeah.
man. Excited to get that in your
Yeah.
hand.
I'm like, I was when and like I said, again, with the whole crowdsourcing thing, I thought that was the coolest thing where you were just kind of asking people like, what do you guys want to see? And it's kind of like just again another passion project where you're like, I'm gonna make these cigars for the guys who love the cigars. And I truly, like I said, I'm truly for that. Like I said, it's love to see, I love seeing when cigar makers get that that passion and that love and that bug bite for these little passion projects. I cannot wait to smoke these things.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No, and I want to hear your feedback on them.
Absolutely.
Those that have smoked it are pretty blown away by the amount of flavor that's in that Corona.
Yeah.
Uh, but we never do product development out in the open type of thing because frankly the reason why you don't do it is it's just too hard. You kind of have your convictions on what you can get across, and financially where that's going to land the product and stuff. Because trust me, there's some ideas that we've sought out that's like, oh, that would be a $5,000 product, or that would it's like
Mhm.
we've definitely gone those rounds. But whenever you're developing something in the public space too, there's also the chance that you let people down on something, and
Hmm.
this just wasn't one of those occasions. It's like there's no wrong we can do here
Yeah.
by, by coming out with something that look, it's not going to be a regular SKU because the tobacco frankly just isn't there. But none of our cigars are regular if we can't manage
Yeah. Yeah.
what we need to be able to put them on the shelf.
Hmm.
So that's why my comment earlier, we don't have a core line. It sounds like a cop out, but I mean,
Yeah. No, totally understood.
yeah, the industry of tobacco is so hard, right? It looks easy, but it is so difficult, and keeping some things in stock and moving the direction that you wanted them to go, and
Yeah.
uh, to finalize and get them into a product. I was having like a revelation, a couple months ago. I called a good friend of mine who's a retailer, and I told him, I was like, I just can't believe all this work.
Yeah.
Like I really can't. Like, I was just kind of reflecting on, this was maybe 6 months ago or something like that, and I told him,
Hmm.
I can't believe it all came together.
Yeah.
I'm still
It
kind
was
of,
meant to be, it was meant to be.
yeah, I'm still kind of in shock about it all.
Yeah. Now, it's funny. Do you have my notes for my interview? Because you're leading me into my questions left and right. So,
Sorry,
um,
I can yap like endlessly.
nah,
So
it's cool, man. It's good. I love it. It makes it easier for me. So, the cigar industry, as as me and it's evolving every single day. It evolves. New smokers, younger audiences, more boutique brands. What's your take on where the cigar industry is headed to?
oh man, that's a pill. So look, it was possible 15 years ago to get a product off of the shelf that
Hmm.
was good. That is getting to be a rarity in most lounges you go to.
Hmm.
Uh, so there's a certain amount of pressure on manufacturing, a certain amount of pressure on retailers. Um, I think we're going to see uh, only because of age and time in the market. We're going to see a lot of existing retailers that unfortunately won't be with us.
Hmm.
They
Yeah, I hear
start.
that. I hear that from numerous people. Yeah.
Yeah, they started in the 90s. They started in the 2000s, and look, I mean, this is a hard business, and they're going to retire, maybe have a manager take over, or they're going to, maybe if they're fortunate, have some next of kin to make it a generational business. We love generational businesses, and tobacco is one of those that has those. But I think in the next 10 years, we're going to see a lot of pretty iconic retailers that I'm still looking forward to working with, frankly. Um,
Hmm.
because I've looked up to him for such a long time, and in the business that I worked in, and so
Yeah.
I think that's going to change. I think you're going to get a new breed of retailer, a younger retailer that probably didn't have very many career options as far as working for somebody else, and they were kind of always destined to start their own business, and
Yeah.
I think that's going to benefit the business of cigars massively,
Yeah.
because we're going to be dealing with people that are much more how can I say, in the throes of their life, where they can really dive in and commit themselves, because this is getting to be a very complex business. This is
Yeah.
before you even talk about all the tariff noise that we have going on, and all the other things that are happening in this. So I think that'll be big. I think the days of the rep might be changing quite a bit.
Hmm.
Look, I mean, if we were having this conversation 15 years ago, I'd say no, that's crazy. You got to have a rep, driving around and talking to the customers and everything like that. And you still do today. We have reps.
Yeah.
But it's more and more, can we make them into key account managers? Putting a guy on the road for 280 days a year, and not getting over 100K in salary, and having to sleep in hotels every other night. I mean, I I don't know how we're going to continue to do that,
Yeah.
when the retail environment is really, the average retailer is ordering about a month at a time.
Hmm.
That's where the business has kind of gone, is, hey, keep the product in stock. I'll order it next month, and so on. So I think that's changing massively. I don't know any other business. I would love to hear about one that has, a mobile sales team, two
Hmm.
plus days out, less than 100K on average. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't gentlemen that get way above that. There's some, rock stars out there for sure. Um, but it's gotten to be a rarity. 15 years ago, you would order 3 months worth of cigars at a time. You would order 3 months, you'd order 6 months, maybe even sometimes on a cigar that sells out regularly, you'd order a year and you'd place the order with the factory.
Yeah.
That's just not the case anymore.
Hmm.
So I don't know what that looks like. We have a customer portal where people order cigars. The salesperson gets quota retirement on
Yeah.
all orders placed through that. But I think that there's an opportunity to change that in a positive way, and actually, give the I don't mean this in a bad way, but the esoteric knowledge of
Yeah.
how to sell and market cigars, adequately for a retailer. There's an opportunity to give them a better position in the company.
Yeah.
And I think and hopefully we're part of creating that standard moving forward.
Hmm.
I don't know exactly, I can't tell you exactly what that is today, but I think that is going to change.
Yeah. So we're kind of going to wrap it up a little bit. So I have a couple of little rapid fire questions for you. So now that we've got the meat and potatoes out of the way,
Okay.
um, just a couple of cool little offhand questions for you to kind of answer. What was the first cigar you ever smoked?
I already answered earlier. It was a Fonseca vintage 2001 Tubo, made by
Okay.
me. And every year I would see him at the trade show, I'd shake his hand. I go, "You're the reason I'm here." Because if he hadn't made that cigar so good, I might not have ever fallen in love with it.
What is your go-to drink with cigar?
Um, well, I would, for a pairing, I would say coffee.
Okay.
I wouldn't consider. I drink a lot of sparkling water, but I wouldn't consider that a pairing. But I would say coffee every
Yeah.
day. So, yeah.
What is a cigar that you respect that's not your own cigar?
Scarlet respect. I guess I would say, man, that's too many. I'm going to leave somebody out. It's going to feel bad. So there are a lot. I would say Fuente. Anything that they make. Can I have one? I mean,
Yeah,
of,
of course.
of course, I love Padron. I don't know how you're a cigar guy or not, but there are a lot of those. Fuente, I didn't smoke Fuente for almost 10 years, and I'll tell you
Hmm.
the side story. My friend and I, we made it our mission. We collected all, not the rare Opus X's, because a lot of people do that.
Hmm. Yep.
I noticed you have a Fuente banner on your wall there, so I'm
Yeah.
sure you're a big fan. But we would collect all of the rare core lines, so to speak. So it would be like the
Hmm.
lines, so the between the lines cigar. Normally, when a cigar shop orders those, they're right hand direction or left hand direction. They rarely ever get a box that's right and left hand direction. So
Hmm.
what we would do is we would fly to the East Coast, me and my buddy, and we would go buy cigars there, and then we would fly out to like Las Vegas, and we would buy
Hmm.
cigars. We could do the between the lines with the arrow streak. So we had all these like really nerdy type of like Core Fuente collection stuff. And my friend passed away, and he was an older gentleman. Complications, cancer. It was actually a biopsy that went wrong. And So when he passed, his family gave me his cigar collection that we had both collected together, and
Hmm.
it was too emotional for me for a long time because smoking his favorite cigars and cigars that we collected together.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would say that's a cigar maker that is exceptional. So
Yeah. And then what is your dream collaboration? Like if you had to pick one maker that you would want to work with, who would that be?
oh gosh, um, you know, there's not we're all really in the valley. Everyone is very charitable, collaborative with each other, and I think there's a lot of ways that we could approach that question. Um, but there's the problem is the one maker that I would really want to work with. I don't think would ever do a collaboration because I don't think he ever has, and that would be Perdomo. Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't think he's ever done
Yeah.
something like that. So um I mostly because I would just want to see what his what his process is. Like I have a little bit of an understanding of it, right? Uh,
Hmm.
but there's so many things that their company is done and doing and so on that
Hmm.
we aspire, of course. And Yeah, so I think that would just be fascinating. I think I would personally be very fascinated to kind of
Yeah.
see how this guy in his lifetime, because it's not tremendously unlike a lot of the decisions that we've had to make. So that's
Hmm.
where for me personally, I think it would probably be the most interesting.
All right. Now, Dan, thank you so much for sitting and talking with us and going way past the time that I had allotted for it.
Uh,
I appreciate it. I appreciate the nerdiness. I appreciate the stories. Um, Me and you banter back and forth online all the time. So, I really appreciate time. Um, Before we let you go, I know you mentioned it before. Where can folks find Domain Cigars and how can people connect with you online?
Yeah, so Domain Cigars everywhere, domaincigars.com, then Domain Cigars on Instagram and so on. I'm Daniel C. Lance,
Hmm.
middle on pretty much everything, so you can connect with us there. As far as purchasing, we have a lot of great retailers, brick and mortar retailers. People always ask me about the website. Why don't we have a store locator on the website? That's so that you walk into the retailer and tell them I work for.
Hmm.
So uh,
Hmm.
we're all over the United States in varying degrees and density. If your local brick and mortar doesn't have them reach out to us. We have plenty of inventory.
Hmm.
So we we really plan for that. We're always ready for a new account that shares the vision that we have, connecting
Hmm.
great tobacco with great people, great conversations. So, but yeah, thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate talking to you
Yeah.
today.
So just stick around a few minutes after we finish the recording. Um, so once again, thanks for joining us. This has been Rob for Six of the Shore, and I've been joined for the night with Dan from Domain. If you're listening to this and you haven't tried Domain yet, please do yourself a favor and go find Domain. So for now, until next time, enjoy yourself. Check on your friends. Your Share cigars with friends. Honestly, it's the best thing you could do. It's a conversation starter. So thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Peace out.